Thanks for joining us today on how to create awesome, informative, and dynamic intranet pages. I'm John Sanders. I'm a program manager in the SharePoint team, and I am joined by Rachel, and the two of us are going to try and do a great job of showing you lots of cool tips and tricks from the product team.
Hey everyone, my name is Rachel Lambert, and I've been a program manager on the SharePoint page authoring team for about 2 years now. Now, before we get into our tips and tricks for creating beautiful and informative SharePoint pages, we wanted to share a few tricks for getting your feedback to the SharePoint product team. The first one we want to talk about today is uservoice.com. So this is generally used for bigger asks and lets you submit and vote on what features you would like to see in any of Microsoft's Office products. The product team will then update our top ask, and on SharePoint, we consider these any ask with more than 100 votes. And we'll let you know the status of the feature. And this can range anywhere from letting you know that we've actually already been working on it and plan to roll it out soon, to an explanation of why we decided not to ship that feature. So, for example, right now, our top most requested web part feature on User Voice is an org chart web part, which we're happy to announce is something we've been working on and plan on rolling out soon. And I'm actually going to show you a demo of it later on in this video. So you can also give feedback to the SharePoint feature crew through in-product surveys like the one shown on the left of this slide. You may have seen this survey pop up after you've published a page on SharePoint. So we call these feature promoter score surveys, and every month for the past 2 years, I've been the person that goes through and reads all of your responses. So we sort through these in a couple of different ways. On one, we have an algorithm that kind of lets us know what areas are trending in the feedback. And then I also read through it myself, since I also work on the page authoring team, just to get a better feel of what users are saying. So we've used this feature survey to prioritize a couple different projects over the past 2 years. One has been our performance effort. We saw a lot of responses talking about performance, so we decided to put a focus on that. And another has been intuitiveness for first-time users. So that's something we've also heard a lot in our feedback, and recently have started working on a brand new page authoring first run experience, which I have shown in the slides below. So this is an interactive experience that'll walk you through creating your first page. Finally, you can give feedback through the product team directly through conferences like this one. We have a couple other presentations you can listen to, and we have booths that you can join in to talk directly with the product team. You can reach out to members of the product team over Twitter or by joining one of our customer insiders programs. So at the end of this video, we'll have a link to join one of these programs called Athena, which is our page authoring insiders program. We meet once a month to demo new designs and features that haven't been shown to the public and get your early feedback so you can affect changes before things are shipped. Let's go ahead and switch over to our demos.
Now that we've gone through our tips and tricks for how to get feedback to the page authoring team, let's go ahead and start actually authoring a page. So we'll get started on the Contoso Perspective site and go to Plus New and create a page, which will land us in the page template picker. Now this has been in the product for around the past year, and templates are a great way to kickstart your pages without having to start from scratch. And so today I'll walk through how to create a template instead of starting from one of these. Create a page template from scratch, or you can turn any pre-existing page into a template by going over here to the Save as Draft button and clicking the drop-down menu and saving it as a page template. And this will go ahead and create your new page template, which will look pretty much exactly like the pre-existing page, just with the option to change the title of the template. So I'm going to give this template the title of Monthly Status Report. And I'm going to go ahead and edit the title region and add a text above title feature. Now this feature is useful because it lets readers know that all of the pages created from this template are part of the same series. So I'm going to name the series the same thing as the title of the template, since the title will normally change when users edit their own page. And I can toggle this on and off here. Next, I'm going to go and add an image for my title region. I'm going to use the stock images feature, since I know that all of these images are high resolution and will look great in my large title region. So let's look for something with pencils, since they'll be writing a status report. And this one looks pretty good, so I'll go ahead and insert it, edit the focal point to where I want it, right about here, and I'm done with my title region. Next, I'm going to edit the body of the template to give it some more depth and style. In this first section here, I want to create an example of how to introduce a new team member since this is a frequent occurrence at Contoso. So I'm going to start off with replacing this text that's already on this template with some text I've already written about our new team member. And I'm going to edit my section to give us room for more content. So I think I'm going to go with 2 columns here. Since this first section is about our new hire, it would probably be helpful to give other members of our company a little bit more context about like who she is and what she works on. So I'm going to go ahead and add our new org chart web part that I mentioned earlier on in this video. So add the org chart, and it gives me the option to have someone's name. So I'm going to search for Miriam, our new hire. And once I enter her name, I'm automatically generated a current org chart. And so she's part of the Contoso drone team. And while these are all of Miriam's reports and her manager, the Contoso drone team works with a couple people outside of their direct organization. And while I can't add them directly to the org chart, I want to make sure people know that these are people that Miriam's also going to be frequently working with. So in order to add these people, I'll add a new section, and I'll just go ahead and add a people web part underneath. So I know she works a lot with Nestor, so I'll add him and Lydia. And I will add Johanna and label these as drone team partners, just so we can see who everyone Miriam works with. In the next section on my template, I want to highlight some of the capabilities of Contoso's drones by showing off some aerial images. So I'm going to go in and add my new section. And then when I add images, I want to browse for a good web part that'll do that. So I can open up my large toolbox here and scroll by category. I can also sort them from A to Z or search for a specific category. And then if I don't want to do that, I can also just use the search bar up here, which also appears in the small toolbox. So I'm going to search for image. I could also search for picture and get the same results. So I'm going to go with the image gallery. I don't need to see the options right now, so I'll close out of that and then go to add my images. And since I want to use images that have been taken by Contoso drones, I'm going to go to the Your Organization tab. So this tab is for the SharePoint Organization Assets feature. So these are assets hosted on a SharePoint site that anyone in the tenant can access through this tab in the image file picker. You can also store document templates there as well, although they won't be shown in this demo. So this is a great feature for marketing or branding if you have images of your product or logos like we have here that you want everyone in your organization to be able to access. So I'm going to go for aerial shots for this page in particular. And while it's loading, I can choose to change the view up here. So I'm going to go for list to tiles so I can look at the images and go ahead and pick some for my page. So I'm going to go through and pick some that I think will look good. And click open, and it'll add every image that I've selected right onto my page. So I'm going to label this section Contoso drone shots. And if I want to, if there's any images I don't like, I can go ahead and click on them and remove them from the page right there. Or if I don't want to do that, if I realize I actually did want one of those images, I can use the undo button at the top of my screen to get it back right away. And then I really want this section to pop since our drones are the focus of our company. So when I go in and edit the section, I'm going to change my section background here. So this changes your section background color. So you have 4 options based off of your theme. If your site has a different theme colors, they would be slightly different than these. But I'm going to go ahead and go with this teal one here to make these images pop. Next, I'm going to go and edit my image gallery web part so the images take up around the same space on the page. Now, in the current brick or masonry layout is great if you want to be sure to show the whole image, for example, images with people. But if you're just here to make an attractive page with more generic images, I like to use the grid layout so they all take up the same amount of space. Next, I really want to make this section pop, so I think I'm going to move it more towards the center of the page. So I'm going to go and click this Move Section button here and drag it, and you can see you get a preview of what the entire section looks like when you drag. So you can keep it in mind as you're editing your page. So I'm going to put it here, and it looks great, and that same drag goes capability works for web parts as well. So if I wanted to move my org chart, I can move here, and then I get my little preview with the name of the web part at the bottom. Finally, before I publish my template, I want to update some of my template details. The first one I want to do is the description. This will show up on top of the template in the template picker and lets users know what they should use the template for. So I want to let users know that they should use this template to provide monthly status reports to the team and like what the template should include. I also have the option to change the thumbnail. This is what will show up in roll-ups like the news web part. And so I am going to save my template and then I'm good to go. When I go back to my home page and go to create a new page, I'll see the new template that I just built already in my template picker. So I can click it and see a nice preview of it right here. And since this is a template that I think members of this site will be using a lot, I'm going to go ahead and change it to this site's default template. So you can do that by going and clicking these three dots here. Set default selection will make it the default template for everyone on your site, and only site owners have the ability to do this. So right now blank is the default, which I can see by this little text here. And when I click set default selection, I'll get a confirmation screen and set it as my default. Now these other two options here, go to template opens up a new tab in which you can edit your template, and then delete from site will delete the template from the entire site. So now that I've set my default template, I'm going to cancel. And then next time when I go back in and click new page, I will automatically be dropped on this one, although I will have the option to change it. And that's how you create a new page template. I'm going to go ahead and hand off to John for more tips on how to write your story.
Thanks, Rachel, for that great set of demos showcasing images on pages. And now we've tried to make it a lot simpler to move content around. And then maybe my favorite is the org chart, the ability to pull in dynamic content from across Microsoft 365 services and highlight that in part of your storytelling on pages. And I guess that comes to my demos here, where the first thing I want to talk about is kind of the art of the possible. So our design teams have done quite a bit to imagine a number of different scenarios that SharePoint could help you highlight with sites and pages. So if I direct you over to lookbook.microsoft.com, you can also be inspired. See some sites designed to be maybe the top of your intranet across your organization, or maybe it's something more departmental, a big conference coming up, a product launch milestone, or something along the lines of a team working closely together. This has some great list integration for product support and collaboration, or all the way over. Organizations include schools. We've done some work to imagine the art of the possible for your school's homepages, staff homepages, and even down to the classroom level. And once you're inspired, don't forget to talk to your tenant admin. And that person can actually take any of these designs by using our SharePoint PnP provisioning service, and they can push that design, that whole site with all this example content down into your organization, and you can play with it and get a start right there. So you don't have to start from a blank slate. But we've also been working on bringing that into our product itself. So if you look here at this site we're going to use for a bunch of our demos, as you saw with Rachel earlier, we have a cool new feature that's actually showing us site templates. And you might recognize a few of these first templates from that SharePoint lookbook. And this will actually transform this site, bringing real content down into your site. So not just the branding and the theming, but creating these pages and bringing this live content in. Let's talk about organizing and displaying your content on pages. From the home page here, I'm going to click New and Page. And instead of using a page template picker as Rachel did, I'm just going to pick a nice blank page. And because I'm not the fastest typist, I'm going to grab a little bit of content over here from Word, and I'm going to drop that on the page. And while that's copying in, let's talk about organizing that content. The first thing is we know that we need to title a page. So I'm gonna name my page, and I'm gonna clean up some of this spacing a little bit. I had some extra spaces in my Word document. One of the things that we heard though is for people that write a lot, once they put in content here and they wanted to continue telling their story, they needed to actually come to the toolbox and say new text, when really they wished we had done that for them automatically. So I'm going to come down here and show you the first part of a rich text editor experiment we did, where as you add new sections, we add a web part for you. And this experiment actually had 2 phases, and the second part of the experiment failed, which is a good thing. We learned, we also, as you added images between text or any other web part, so we'll pick this beautiful image here, we would add another text web part below that image to try and keep the flow of writing available for you. But unfortunately, it didn't work that well because people felt like they needed to come up and delete these extra parts to continue with their writing. And so we didn't ship that feature, but the feature that we are shipping that you're looking at here, we call internally the rich text editor experiment. And as you add new sections to the canvas, we add text web parts for you so you can just start typing. But again, not being the fastest typist, I am going to add a few sections here and then copy and paste in some content from Word. Obviously, as you know, from Word, we retain the formatting for, headings, tables, bullets, etc. And now I'm going to pull over some of this content from my Word document, and I am going to drop it here in different sections. And the reason I'm doing that is while Word is a great format for sharing text, and in some cases even great rich imagery, it's nice with pages that not only can you show and tell your story a little bit more visually, but I can also use other attributes, not only imagery, to be able to tell my story. So as we talk about really collaborating with your team, first thing is we've got this default image up here. Let's come up to our ever-growing library of beautiful imagery, and let's look for something about teamwork. And I don't know. Let's see. What is a great picture for teamwork? I think that one's pretty good looking. So this image is going to be used as the thumbnail for my page. And we'll get back more to that in a little bit. But now for each of these issues that we're talking about setting clear expectations. While this is a clear day, why don't we go ahead and we're going to open up the image and we're going to pick a different stock image that's going to tell that story a little bit better. So I'm going to look for goals in our stock imagery, and I'm going to use that for setting clear goals. And then for safety, I think let's go ahead and look for something that makes us feel safe. For me, being that I used to be a lifeguard years ago, water always makes me feel safe, and life rings make me feel extra safe. We're going to add that here. And then for diversity and inclusion, we actually had a great town hall on that where we talked about it as a group. So instead of dragging an image here, I am going to use our recording from the town hall, and I'm just going to paste my video link from Stream. That's our town hall recording video link. And then I'm going to move that over to this side. So, and I'm going to get rid of the link because I think it looks a little bit cleaner. So now I've got a nice page with some crisp imagery. that helps me tell my story. I've highlighted the key things that I want people to read. And the only thing is it's a little bit long. So as I look at that, I think we want to tighten that up. So let's save a version of this for the moment. And while we're looking at this saved page, let's see how this would appear in search results and in rollups. I can come over to page details, and I can see this is the thumbnail. And then at the moment, we actually needed to look for a description. So let's come in here, and we're going to click edit in these page details, and you'll notice that as you've saved that first page, we took your first 255 characters here and we converted that to a description. Now, obviously, you could rewrite it if you wanted to, but that's a great way to get a good description from us, and then you can improve it here. You can obviously change the thumbnail as well. Since we've added so much more content to this page, and it has gotten a little bit long, it might be nice to have a way to make this content more dense on the page. And there are a couple of methods to do that already in the community, making things like an accordion web part that has just text and images. But one of the things that we wanted to do, and we recently explored in a hackathon, which is product code that we're in the process of shipping out to you, is actually converting sections to become collapsible as an option, so that you don't just have text in an accordion section, but you could have any type of content here in a collapsible model. Let me just grab this heading here, because we're actually going to use it now when we come over to this section group options. We're going to say make this section collapsible. You're going to see that it actually collapses. But now we need to give it a display name. So conveniently, I'm going to copy and paste my header. And we're going to start with the accordion model for our section, and then we'll look at another model, which is tabbing. So here, I'm going to grab each of these headings, and then on each of the sections that are collapsible, by default, they are collapsed. And we're going to come through. We can see that that first section is expanded by default. Now we can absolutely collapse it, and we can expand to get through our content. And just like any other content in sections, if we wanted to, let's come down and let's actually give this another treatment. Let's apply a section background. And you'll see as we save our page again, that section background persists as this section expands and collapses. Now let's take a look at a different layout for this, which is we're going to use the tabbed interface. So as we click in here, we're going to choose tabs instead of accordions. And you can see I've got my tabs right here. I'll come down here and I'll apply tabs. And on the last section as well, I'm going to add tabs. And what we've got is tabbing across the top. So I'm going to save my draft. And as I come through on the page, we see I have very clean content here in a much denser format. So let's not just think about it in terms of text and images as we do here, but if we jump over to a couple of other pages, I've actually brought in news content from across our organization, and I've used the capabilities in news to filter that content based on the author. So in this case, we've got Lynn Robbins content, we have only content from Megan, we have Miriam content. Obviously, this can be any content that you could put into a section, just trying to show you that it's not really about text and images. It's not only that I want to build an FAQ or I have an accordion capability in text, but that all the power and grouping and organizing of content in sections can be leveraged and shown either in this tabbed model, or here's an example of that same content using our accordion control on these sections where we're showing leadership blogs from different leaders in the organization. Now that we've learned about making a page with a lot more dense content with images and dynamic content, maybe using collapsible sections, with tabs or accordions, let's also look at just a much simpler way of breaking up content. This is a slightly earlier version of that page. I just used the new make a copy of my page capability to get a nice exact copy earlier. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit this, and then instead of this image here, I want these paragraphs of text to be together. So I am actually going to add a new section here, and I'm going to pick full width section. And then instead of re-choosing this image, I'm just going to grab this image and drop it into my full width section. That's going to tighten up this text here, and then showing some image editing capability if we wanted to tighten in on the team members here, we could just bring this down a little bit. Let's not chop off any heads there. And now I click out, and we're going to save our changes there. So now I've got my intro section. I've got a rich full width image. Maybe that's a product placement image as opposed to a team image. And then I'm telling the rest of the story. So I'm breaking up my content by focusing the user's attention with images, with videos, and with dynamic content where I want them to hear my story. One other important tip for building great content, as you see here with our home page, we've got quite a bit of content on the page. I want to make sure that I can target that content to the right people that need to see the information. So as an example here, I'm logged in as Megan, and I'm going to go ahead and edit this, and I want to point out in particular here, Megan is seeing 2 links in view mode. And she's an editor here for the perspective, but she has actually the ability to create content that's targeted to other people, even in groups she's not a member. So you can see here in the quick links web part, we've added audience targeting. So the first thing to enable that feature is you need to have turned on audience targeting in the web part itself. And then on each link, it now becomes an option. So it's an optional setting. And in this case, Megan is not a member of our sales organization, but she's targeted 2 links to be focused for sales employees, these first 2 links. So as we come to the overall web part, we can see only 2 of the links are audience targeted. These other links are going to show up for every audience. And if I discard these changes, again, Megan's not a member of the sales organization. So in view mode, these web parts or these links are not shown to her. If we jump over to looking at Lydia, one of our salespeople, you can see that in view mode, being that she is in the audiences that these links are targeted for, she gets to see all 4 of these links. And that's just another way that our system can help you tell your story and target the content to the people that you need it. Now, since we've been talking about system capabilities and we looked at quick links with audience targeting earlier, one capability I want to draw your attention to, it's also available in page details where we know now that we can use our page thumbnail and change the description, but it's a great little feature called scheduling. So let's say you're working on this article on the weekend, but you don't want your news post or your page to go live on Saturday at 11 a.m. Maybe you shouldn't be working at Saturday at 11 a.m., but maybe you just don't want it to go live then. So you can turn on scheduling for this post. And the scheduling feature is originally turned on just in your site pages library, right at the very top there of your site pages library. You turn the capability on, and that gives you the ability that on that site you can schedule. But then per page, you can choose to schedule. And then I enter a time. I come over here and I'm going to get a nice date picker. Let's say that I want to schedule for Monday morning, and maybe midnight isn't the best Monday morning. What about we say 9:30 in the morning? And then when I come, you'll notice that publish actually changes to schedule. And now this page, when I hit schedule, is going to go live, and these changes I've made are going to show up there on the 28th at 9:30 in the morning. Works the same for news, and then for news, obviously the news notifications are fired once that page is actually posted and your site has that new news content. So that's another system capability we've brought to you, and we demoed it before. It's in targeted release right now, and it should be out to production quite shortly. I want to focus this last demo on something that I think is very important, and we go to great lengths to make it as easy as possible for you, and that's making sure your content is accessible and putting in the right, let's say, waypoints or landmarks to help readers move through your content. So let's come back. We're going to edit another version of this page, and then I'm going to point out a few key things. So the first one is here, I'm actually using headings, and those headings, if I jump out of my edit mode, become anchor links. So I can jump a reader to a deep link within my content if I want to jump them to a section. The other advantage as well is screen readers are going to help read out those headings. Then the next thing, let's talk about images. So when I click on this image, we have an ability here to add a caption that's put on the page. So in this case, I might write something like striving to achieve our goals. But the other important element here is if I edit this image, we have another piece of content that's available for readers of users of screen readers, which is alternative text. And that's not a replication of your caption. It's more of a description of the picture to someone that can't see it. So in this case, I might put arrows in the bullseye of the target. And hopefully I wouldn't misspell all of that. But these important elements, as you create your content, help readers, not only sighted readers, but readers using assistive technologies, go through your content and jump to different sections, see the imagery on your pages. So here, again, maybe my alternative text might be life ring floating in water. Again, sorry for my bad typing there. And then on videos, we can also add captions. So this is because all of these waypoints make your content not only richer to all of your users, but make assistive technologies easily able to jump through your content. One last part on assistive technologies, we've recently launched a feature that gives you a quick short keyboard shortcuts. So that's the question mark. So basically your shift question mark / key or command, in both Mac and PC. And that's going to bring up not only your editing mode shortcuts, but just your ability to navigate through the page. And that works in any modern page in SharePoint. With that, I'm going to hand it back to Rachel to bring us home.
Well, this concludes the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. Just again, at the end, I want to reiterate, if you ever want to get any feedback to us, feel free to use uservoice.com or join our Athena Page Authoring Insiders program. And also call back to when John mentioned we have our lookbook where you can provision pre-built SharePoint sites. Thank you so much.